I get to introduce my wife, which is really kind of fun. And for gentlemen out there, you know, if you ever get the opportunity to introduce your wife, then it's a very good thing because you get to sing her praises in public. And so thank you for indulging me. The point of the matter is, you know, Laila and I have now been married for 22 years. And our daughter, who many of you saw out in the lobby, is turning 19 in about 3 days, and she's going to be a freshman at University of California, San Diego. She got into Berkeley, but she wanted to go to UC so she could be closer to her mom and dad. And so that's a good thing. Most kids want to get far away. But Sarah decided she wanted to be close, and she's very excited about studying international relations at UC Berkeley. But more importantly, the great tribute here is to Laila. You know, Laila's been in this business for a while. She'll tell you a little bit about her story. But let me talk to you about what has happened over the last couple of years. Laila is recognized both nationally and internationally as one of the top advisors in the nation. And everybody in the Pence Wealth Management team, we all follow the same methodology. We all have the same investment team. And so the important thing is all of the expertise that we have is shared throughout the entire firm. So regardless of who your advisor is, it's important to recognize that we have a tremendous amount of expertise. And Laila leads that. She leads that tremendously. And she's listed as, in Forbes, right? Most of you know Forbes magazine, best in state wealth advisors. She is the #1 financial advisor in Southern California for 2021. And I think this is the second or third time that she's been ranked that. She's the #1. Not only that, she's been in Barron's Women's Top Advisors a number of times. So Barron's magazine, the other industry rag, if you will, that many people look at. She's one of the top women advisors in the nation. And then the most important thing that we talked that she really welcomes is that in addition to being the Barron's top financial advisors, but she's also in the Barron's Hall of Fame. And what that means is you've been on a top 100 list in this nation for 10 years in a row. And that's a consistent tribute to how hard my wife works. And she works really hard. So yeah, give her a hand, please. Everybody clap for her. Laila has been on TV. She's been, all the major networks like to have her because she's so enlightening and beautiful, I think. So without further ado, my wife, Laila Pence.
Thank you so much, Dryden, for that introduction. You know, I always say I married well. You guys agree? All right. I'm going to do something a little different this year. I'm actually, we've been doing this this is our 24th year. And I never took the time before to tell you about my story. And I hope I don't choke up saying it, but I never really wanted to talk about my story because, I don't know, I was a little embarrassed by it. I didn't want to talk about myself. Maybe I thought no one would be interested. But then I got, Dryden really pushed me. He says, you should really tell people about your story. And then the BBC called and said they want to do an interview with me about my story. And I said, okay. And they did a story that went viral. Story went viral. It actually got translated in many international newspapers and also in Egypt. So here it goes. I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. So as many of you probably already know that I was born and raised in Egypt. And I had a really wonderful life. We lived in a beautiful villa, 7-bedroom villa. We had chauffeurs, we had everything. And we lived in a city called Suez, the Suez Canal. And I remember very well, I was a very, very young child, but in 1967, we were having breakfast in the morning. And we heard this unbelievably loud noise, this horrible sound I never heard before. That was the sound of an air raid, the sirens of an air raid. That was the beginning of the 6-Day War. So really shocking. So we decided to move away from the home for a while, and things died down a little bit. So we decided to come back and kind of get some clothes that we left behind. So we're back at the home, we're packing and so forth. And all of a sudden, again, the sound of the air raid, woo, 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 really very, very loud. And we knew what that was for sure. And my dad kept saying, let's go, let's go, let's go. And we're trying to pack stuff away. And I get into the car. And right when we're turning the corner, I hear this boom, very loud sound of a bomb. And actually, that bomb hit in the room I was just in 5 minutes ago. That was pretty much the end of my childhood. We lost everything. So fast forward, we my parents decided a few years later to immigrate to the United States. And we were coming to Staten Island, New York. And a month before we were supposed to leave, my dad got into a very big accident and broke his legs in so many ways. So he couldn't come with us. So it was just me and my mother, all by ourselves, coming to Staten Island, New York, not speaking a word of English, not having any friends, any family whatsoever. We had to move in a 2-bedroom apartment with a Puerto Rican family. And we had to go to work on the Staten Island ferry to selling hot dogs and knishes just to get by. It was a really, really hard time. But made it through. I remember going to school, I had to take 2 buses to go to school, and it was so cold. I wasn't used to all the cold weather in New York. That was not any fun at all. So finally, we moved to California to go to school, and my family came along and so forth. And even all through school, I waitressed and went to school and studied. It was really hard. No personal life, just, you work, you go to school, put yourself through school. And then my last year of college, I got introduced to the financial services business, to this business. I was very, very young. And I'll never forget this. My very first client, her name was Hilda, gave me $20,000 to invest. I was so excited. I could not sleep a whole night long. I couldn't believe anyone would trust me with $20,000 of their hard-earned money. That's a fortune, an absolute fortune. But today, Pence Wealth Management manages over $2.4 billion in assets. That's what I call living the American dream. As I've been interviewed about this quite a bit, people started asking me, well, what is the secret? How did that happen? And I tell them, it's really all about the team. See, if you want to go fast, you go alone. But if you want to go far, you go with a team. And I really, truly feel I have the best team in the entire financial services business. This is the Pence Wealth Management team. If I can have, I know some of them are back in the office manning the phones because of Zoom, but if I can have the team that's here right now, just stand up and give them a round of applause, please. See, I really think that our team is not only talented and smart and dedicated, but they have a servant's heart. It's really about, people could be smart and they could be talented, but if they are not here to serve you, if they don't have that servant's heart to really want to do this, then it doesn't matter. And that's, so many people do what we do. Why do we succeed versus others? I really feel, of course, you have the talent, you have the smarts, you have the experience, you have the dedication, but it's the heart that matters. When we hire for people that heart. People here will take the time. They will go visit clients. Through COVID, when people couldn't come out, we actually went out to their homes to help them. We did whatever, we did shopping for them. We did whatever it takes. This is not just, we do this because we care. And it's really important, it's that team. And not only do I think that we're a great team, but Barron thinks so too. Barron's gave us, as we are in the top 100, the private wealth teams for 2021. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a great accomplishment for our team. There's 450,000 advisors who do what we do. We are in the top 100. And you know what? We couldn't do this without you. It's all of you here. If you're not here, if you're on Zoom, you're not here, we can do anything. It's all of you. The fact that you trust us with your hard-earned money, just like I remember that first $20,000, what that meant to me. I still think every dollar a client gives us today, I take that to heart. You entrust us with your livelihood, with your kids' money, with your retirement. We take that to heart. And that is why we continue to succeed. And I can't thank you all. So I want to give you a round of applause. Okay, enough about that. I get to talk to you about what you really came to hear. Is this proposed tax law changes? There were so many changes that started out last year, and in April there was all these proposals, but these are hot off the press. These are the laws that are proposed just as of last Monday. And hopefully you're not going to need a scientist to figure out your taxes like this says here. So I'm going to go through and tell you about the most important ones that we think affects most of you here today. First one is the top marginal tax rate. So right now, the highest federal rate is 37%. If you're a joint couple, you have to make $628,000 to be in that highest tax rate. What they're proposing is to take it from 37% to 39.6%, but on a much lower level of income. So if you're a joint filers, it only takes $450,000, and if you're single, $400,000. So not only is the rate going up, but the amount that it gets taxed on is a lot quicker. They actually also added a surtax for people that make $5 million. So the next one is the corporate marginal tax rate. So right now, it's a flat rate for C corporations of 21%. So they actually have a little graduated one. It'll be like 18%, then it'll go to 21%. But if your income is over $5 million as a corporation, it'll be 26.5%. This matters maybe not to you personally, but it matters in the stocks that we buy, right? They pay corporate tax rates. Now, we don't know, again, these are just proposals. The talk in Congress right now is maybe going down to 25. Again, there's a lot of work that still needs to happen between the House and the Senate, and these are just what's proposed right now. Please don't take this as the law. These are just proposals, but we want you to be aware of them because there is some planning that I'll talk about later that you may want to consider. But the one that everybody's been asking me about is long-term capital gains. I think all year long, I've been asked, what's going to happen to capital gains? Because I don't know if you remember, but in the original law proposals back in April, they were talking about, if you have $1 million of capital gains, you'd be taxed as ordinary income, which would be like 39.5%. So thank God, right now it's a little bit livable. Right now, you pay 20% of capital gains once you reach all your income from work or interest or dividends and any capital gains. Once you surpass $501,000, you are now taxed at the 20% rate. So the proposal right now, it says 25%. It didn't say exactly at what income level. We think that it might be at the 450,000 joint level. That seems to be the number that they're using in a lot of these, because President Biden had said that he's not going to tax anybody that's making over 400,000. So we're kind of thinking that level would probably apply to maybe incomes over 450 or 500 or 400, but it is 25% is what's proposed right now. Now, they did say that that could be effective as of last Monday, but that's not likely. Of course, we don't know for sure. We don't know for sure whether they'll make it retroactive to that or not, because there's still a lot of negotiations that are going to happen before this goes into effect. Another one I've been getting a lot of calls on is what's going to happen to the estate tax exemption? What's going to happen to the estate tax exemption? Because right now it's very, very big and it's wonderful, right? An individual can leave 11.7 million, and as a couple, they can leave 23.4 million to their heirs without estate taxes. So the law is, this law is going to expire on 2027 anyway. But what they're proposing right now is that it would go down to 5 million, and but it would be indexed for inflation. So we're thinking that would be like maybe 5.5 million. We don't know. And again, that's just a proposal, but that one seems to have a lot of legs because it is going to go to 5 million anyway in 2027. So maybe there's a high likelihood that that's something that will pass. But we don't know the exact numbers, but that's what's proposed right now. Now, this one I really hits home with me because I don't think you probably have never heard me speak in a podcast or other luncheons or other events. I'm a big proponent of ROTH conversions. Do you guys agree with that? Right? I've always talked about ROTH conversion, because I do really think it's amazing to have your money grow tax-free and then also to your heirs for 10 years. So right now, anyone, regardless how much income they make, they can convert as much as they want. And there's no limits. Okay? They're talking about putting the limits back in. And so they're talking about that next year. That's proposed for next year, or maybe later. We're not sure. Some people are saying they may allow us a couple more years before this goes into effect for the ROTH conversion, but they are definitely talking about limiting your ability to convert if your income as a joint taxpayer goes over 450,000 and a single taxpayer taxable income of 400,000. So it's, you might think, well, I don't have 450,000 or I have 450,000, but if you convert, let's say your income is 250, that means you can only convert 200,000 that year, right? So it's definitely gonna change things. All right, so I've just covered some of the main highlights of this proposal that was done. There's a lot more. I'm gonna cover a lot more of them at the podcast. And remember, you have to register to listen in on that. Now, I'm going to go through here 10 things that you might want to consider to help out in some of these things and some other planning things. All right. Well, if we know, I kind of feel that this year is probably going to be one of the lowest tax year. So if you're planning to sell, real estate, or you're planning to sell business, or you're planning to sell some stock, or you might want to do it this year, right? If you have to do it anyway next year, maybe push it to this year. Also, ordinary income. I'm pretty sure ordinary income rates are probably going to go up next year. So if you normally we say push income to next year. This year we say maybe push your income here because the rates are lower. 37 versus 39.6%. So if you have that ability, you might want to do that. Number 2. Consider contributing to a donor advised fund. Okay, if you have any charitable intent at all, I've had people even do this that don't really have a charitable intent, but once they see the benefit of it, they go, oh, I may want to do it anyway. Because a donor advised fund really is a fund where you get to, if you have stocks or assets that are highly appreciated. One of the things that we have right now is that, stock market has been great. You've had great gains. Right, and you want to maybe diversify your portfolio a little bit, and so one thing you can do is you can donate highly appreciated stock into this fund and get a tax deduction on the market value of that fund. So let me give you an example. Let's say you have Apple, and you paid maybe $20,000 for Apple, and today it's worth $100,000. You can take the Apple stock, donate it into this fund, and get a tax deduction of $100,000 off your income taxes. Okay, it is subject to 30% of your adjusted gross income, but you get that tax deduction. If you don't use it all, you could carry forward to next year. But you get 100,000 and you save paying the capital gains on the difference between the 20,000 you pay for your stock and the 100,000 that it's worth. So it's two saving. You get a tax deduction, you save paying the capital gains. You get this fund, that fund gets invested. You can invest it in stocks again. You can invest it in mutual funds. So it continues to grow for the benefit of your charity. And then you get to don't give it to any charity you want, but most of all, you don't have to give it anytime soon. You can leave it there growing, and you can give 5,000 at a time, or 2,000, or have it monthly to your charity, as you do if you give to your church. You can just take it out. It's all online. It is such an easy thing to do. It is really one of the best things. We probably open these once a week for clients because they're really a great way to save taxes and donate. Also, if what's nice about it is you can donate now, distribute later. A lot of clients don't know who they want to give it to right now, right? So this is a good way to put it in it, and then you have the rest of your life to give that money away. All right. ROTH conversion. ROTH conversion. So, anything you convert is 100% taxable, right? It just gets added onto your ordinary income, and you have to pay the tax on it. Right now, there's no limit to the amount you can convert, right? That's the law right now. We know that potential change. So this year may be a very good year to make a big hit. I know I was talking to a client just yesterday, and I said, I think you should do $1 million worth. She goes, okay. This is great, because she has the money in other investments she can't use. And I said, this would be the best thing you'll ever do. You may never get this chance again. I know last year I had a client in the midst of, if you hear our podcast, I'm constantly telling ROTH conversion. So in the midst of the down market, we converted $1.4 million. By the end of the year, that account was worth 2.1, all tax-free. All that gross tax-free, right? And as you know, with the Secure Act that passed last December 2019, you can no longer, your beneficiaries can no longer take their money out over the life expectancy. When you pass away, they have 10 years to take the money out from their IRA or their Roth. But if they have a Roth, they can just leave it growing tax-free for 10 years and then take it out. So it's very, very powerful growth. And then, of course, since you've already paid the tax, there's no required minimum, right? And I am a big believer in tax-free compounding. I really feel tax-free compounding is the 8th wonder of the world. All right. So number 4 kind of says, this is just a little planning trick. Okay, it just says, what if, a lot of people want to convert, they really don't like paying the tax, right? So if you like to donate, so why not do this? Why not convert 100,000, take 100,000 of stock, donate it to a donor advised fund, then you get a $100,000 deduction. So 100,000 income, 100,000 deduction gives you 0 tax. So that's one way you could reduce your tax liability on a ROTH conversion. Another way is, this one doesn't reduce it, just makes it less painless to pay the tax, okay? What I find as clients retire and they get to, age 72, obviously many of them are living just fine from their investments and their trust money and so forth, and don't really need the required minimum distribution. They have these big IRAs. Okay, you have a big IRA there sitting, and it's going to keep growing, and it's just going to get taxed to your heirs in the future and so forth. So if you don't need all that RMD to live on, then you could say, what, why don't you send all of it to taxes and see how much I could convert? So I know this is a little bit complicated here on this slide, but I'm going to try and make it as simple as possible, because I use this quite a bit, and this is something that other advisors don't necessarily recommend, because most advisors will tell you, okay, you have $100,000 in RMD, you take $40,000 in taxes, send me the check for $60,000, or put it in my investment account to invest. And that's what they want to do. They want to leave that money for them to invest. But I'm saying, if you don't need this money to live on, the best thing you could do for yourself and your heirs, especially tax rates are going to go up, is to take the whole required minimum, send it to the government. I could do that for you. Okay. And that would, in this example here, would allow you to convert about $150,000 of Roth conversion. It feels better because it doesn't, I find that clients are willing to do this if they don't have to touch their bank account or their investment account. They're most likely to convert if they don't have to take it out of their own account that they spend with. So this is just another way to help you convert more into Roth. All right. The other thing you could do is you are allowed by law to give up to $100,000 from your required minimum distributions that you have directly to charity. Rather than you getting the money and donating that money that you usually do, it's better for you to say, hey, Laila, hey, Bill, whatever the advisor is, send that $10,000 from my RMD directly to charity, because that lets you take full advantage of your standard deduction and lets you also possibly not get into where you're paying your Medicare surtax. Okay, there's a lot of changes in the estate planning. As I talked about, one of the things that's also, I will talk about in the podcast, that also changing a lot of the strategies that we normally have to reduce estate taxes, like eliminating the grantor trust, eliminating discounts. So this may be one of the last years you can do some real estate planning. If you have a large estate over 20 million or so forth, this may be a really good year. You have a few months to do that. Meet with your estate planning attorney to see what your options are. All right. If you're working and you're have a 401k, a lot of people just automatically contribute to the regular 401k, and then they have the tax problems in the future that we're talking about now. They have big IRAs and big RMDs and so forth and so on. So we think, again, tax-free compounding is the way to go. For most people, a better option for them is to go into the Roth 401k. The maximum for age 50 you can contribute is $19,500. If you're age over 50, the maximum is $26,000. Number 9, the best gift that you can give to your children and grandchildren who are working is to contribute to a Roth IRA for them. Okay, they have to have income, but you can contribute $6,000. It's the best gift. I know that's something you see Sarah working just so she can work, so we can contribute for her. She works. So if she makes $6,000 a year, we can take $6,000 and put it into a Roth IRA. Last but not least is to fund your children and grandchildren 529 plan. Like, as an individual, that you can fund 5 years in advance. You have $15,000 you can give to an individual. You can give it all in 1 year. That's $75,000. If you're a couple, it's $30,000 per couple. You can give $150,000 all in 1 year. That money grows tax-free, and it can be used for all education costs. And it's all tax-free. It's just like another Roth, really. But it's for education purposes. I know I've been funding the 529 plan since Sarah been born, and it's great. You know what? Instead of her going to a dorm, she has a choice of going to an apartment. Instead of having 2 meals a day, she gets to have 3 meals a day. That's what you want, right? It's a wonderful thing to give. It's the best thing that you can do for your children and grandchildren is a 529 plan.